What's for dinner tonight? Crockpot Pot Roast. So we're going to start with our pot roast. And the best way to make this pot roast tender and juicy is to poke some holes in it, both sides. And you'll see what I mean later. So after you poke those holes in it, then you want to put some meat tenderizer all over that baby. Yes. Sprinkle it on. Make sure to do it to both sides. And then now for the other seasonings, you want to add a little bit of onion powder, some black pepper, and of course some salt. And some soul food seasoning just to give it that extra little flavor. If you don't have soul food seasoning, don't worry about it. You can use seasoned salt or anything like that. So you want to put those roast in a crock pot, and we're not using an electric crock pot, we're using a plain crock pot. And then these are all the vegetables that you want to add to the crock pot mixture. So we got carrots, onions, celery, and potatoes. So we're going to start by chopping up some carrots in small 2.5-inch pieces. And after we chop those up, we're going to add them to the pot. Dump them right on top of the beef. In they go. And on to the next thing, you want to chop up some onion. Chop up the onion in small chunks. And after you chop up those onions, you add them to the pot, right on top of the carrots and the beef. And next, you want to chop up the celery. You just chop up the celery right down the celery stick into small inch pieces, 1-inch pieces. And I say you want to use about 4 celery sticks for this. And then in the celery pieces go. And last but not least is the potatoes. So start by peeling your potatoes. Whichever you want a way to peel them, with a knife or a peeler, whatever works for you. And after you get all your potatoes peeled, then you want to chop them up in fairly big pieces. Don't want to make the pieces too small. You don't want them to get too soggy and mushy in your roast. So big mouth-sized pieces will do. And then you toss those in with with all the other vegetables and the beef. In they go. And after we layer the crock pot with all the vegetables and the beef, then you just kind of want to give it a little stir. Make sure you move all the vegetables around, evenly incorporate it. Done and done. And then just to add a little more flavor, you want to add some minced garlic. So about a heaping teaspoonful will do. Incorporate that in with the vegetables and the meat. And then after the garlic, to give it a little more flavor, I like to add a packet of beef au jus dip mix. You can find this in any grocery store. It's what you make beef au jus with. It's what you make the broth with. It just adds some extra beef flavor to this dish that I really love. So I just sprinkle the whole packet in there with the beef and the veggies right on top. Trust me, you'll thank me later. And after that, in goes beef broth. This is what keeps that good beef flavor throughout everything in this pot. So in goes the beef broth over all the veggies. Mix it in with that powder. And you pretty much want to fill the pot to the brim. Cover all the vegetables because you want to make sure your vegetables get cooked evenly. And that juice and that broth is what will do it. Mix that all in. Make sure the powder is mixed into the broth evenly. Boom. This is what it looks like when it's all mixed up. Ready to go in the oven. Now you want to cook this for about 2 hours because it takes a minute for all your veggies and your beef to get good and beefy and all that broth. So you want to cook it in the oven for 350 for 2 hours. And then look at that. There's your end result. Yummy, yummy, yummy in my tummy. And this smells so good. Perfect meal for the winter. And me, I like to take those pieces of beef out of the pot and slice them up into smaller pieces of beef and then add them back in. So I'm going to take them out and slice them up. And look at that beef. That beef slices like butter. This is the result from poking those holes and putting that meat tenderizer on it before I did anything else. So tender and juicy. Just, Cut it up into strips, chunks, slices, however you prefer. And then you want to add it right back into that crock pot. right back in there. It's gonna make that meat even more flavorful as it just simmers in that juice. Mix it around. And look at that. So good. And this broth is everything. Let me tell you what the best side dish is. Cornbread. Dip some cornbread in that juice. Crockpot Pot Roast. Get into it, y'all.